Hey Matt, welcome to the Guide Spotlight. I wish I was holding a spotlight that I could shine on you, but that probably
Yeah,
wouldn't work for video. But
yeah,
glad
I've
to
got
have
one,
you.
up here moving it. So thanks for having me. Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, so this is here to talk about you and to talk about what you're going to be doing on our platform, on the Cine Journeys platform. You already have some things online. So before we jump into those, just for anybody that doesn't know you, would you like to introduce yourself, talk about what you're into, maybe even a favorite film? I'll put you on the spot.
Ooh, oh, I like it. Well, hey, yeah, as Aaron said, my name's Matt. I teach film, media theory, and history at Portland State University. I've kind of been in and around the sort of cinema world, I guess, on Twitter and various festival kind of internet world for a while now, and so really excited to kind of get to know everybody in the Cine Journeys community and get to share some of what I've been working on over the years outside of the university. I think that's kind of a key passion of mine, I guess. Favorite movie,
Just one. I know that's
just one. Without getting into the specifics of like the canon or anything like that, Children of Men, I think, has been a really
okay.
profoundly influential movie in my life.
No, that's one we could let's save that because we could unpack that one for
Oh
days.
yeah.
So maybe that's another podcast. But I love that movie as well. I think that's on my. I made a letterbox top list. Well, I would say Mulholland Drive. Just
Yeah.
that's the one I keep going back to. But no, Children of Men is a great one. So yeah, save that date. But let's talk about what you're gonna teach really. And you said you've been teaching. So I think you told me previously it was 8 years. Is that right? So you've been teaching film, or is
Yeah,
it longer?
so, I entered graduate school in 2014 and started teaching sort of about a year after that. So I guess kind of about 10 years now at this point.
Oh wow.
Yeah, sort of on and off in various contexts, but yeah, I've been teaching and designing my own courses since 2016 at the very least. So, and I teach film theory all the time. And so
Yeah,
it's a syllabus and its approach that I've been thinking about deeply for a long time. So,
that's awesome. Well, people watching on video, this will be on video and audio, so need to describe that. But I have your guide page pulled up. And by the way, very very serious and very filmic cover image there. I could see, you did your blocking very well.
gotta shout out my podcast co-host Corbin, who's in my Pacific Northwest Insurance Corporation movie film podcast. Wonderful SEO logic on that name, by the way.
Yeah,
But
I'm sure you get a
yeah,
lot of inquiries for life insurance.
exactly. But he
So
took the
yeah,
photo. All credit to him. So
we'll talk about film and sell you some umbrella insurance. How about that?
love it. I love
Um,
it.
so yeah, histories of the present as well as your Substack, and here we have two classes. Actually, well, this is something I need to do is invert these, but first is film theory, and I'll just click through the details and registration. So the dates are. Oh, we actually don't have the dates on the page. We'll have to add those on there.
June
But oh no, I'm
16th,
sorry,
I
we do
believe.
have them here. I
Yeah.
just scrolled through them. So June 16th, Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time. So do you want to talk about what you're going for here? What's film theory?
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said, this is kind of I would say one of the key structuring kind of syllabi ideas that cross like my entire academic sort of approach. Um, I know that film theory is something that both film scholars, historians, theorists, as well as just cinephiles, think about in various different ways. And I've always found that I think the way that film theory is often talked about kind of in just general cinephile communities is, people know a lot of the big kind of the hits, right?
Mm.
Laura Mulvey and the male gaze, identification, things like this, montage, the auteur theory. We all know these terms. But I always get frustrated, I think, when often in college courses, film theory is always taught very conceptually, right? We're going to talk about the auteur theory. Then we're going to talk about Laura Mulvey and the male gaze. For me, the story of film theory is really also the story of, 20th century history and philosophy. It is one of the key places where I think philosophy as such in our culture really grew. And it talked about the ideas that culture all of us in culture, whether we know it or not, are thinking through every day, because cinema and the camera and media is the world that we all live in. And so my film theory course, I am going to be offering you, my understanding of things like the auteur theory and, Laura Mulvey identification, the male gaze. But my goal is also really to sort of tell you a story about the history of the 20th century and philosophy and the world and film as cinema as our kind of big cultural medium. So this class to me is going to be, ideally when we get done with it, what I'd love you to walk away with is like a story about the past 100 years. I think that will make every film you watch, hopefully, if I do my job, kind of fit into a big comprehensive worldview that I hope will enrich all of your film going, experience afterwards. So
I think it will. And by the way, I'm clicking around here. First, I noticed we have a discrepancy. This one says 7 p.m., but it's 8 p.m. So we'll change. That'll be changed by the time people see this page. And the page I'm showing right now is the actual LMS page. So it's paywalled, or it will be paywalled, or subscribe. I don't like the word paywall, but I guess technically that's a true statement. But here are some of the films that you're going to discuss. And I guess I'll ask. There's some Afterlife, Passion of Joan of Arc, Battleship Potemkin, Parasite, Meshes of the Afternoon, Rear Window, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and Speed Racer, which is fascinating. So can I ask how you're, first, can I ask if people need to watch these, or does it matter? Or, and also, how are you going to look at these films?
Yeah, sure. So unlike some of these courses, which as I understand are very built around a list of, 6 or 7 or 8 films that everyone will watch, what I'm hoping to do is to provide general screening lists, as well as some general reading lists. I'm not going to ask anybody, do homework and come to class, but each week we're going to be talking about certain concepts, and I'm going to say, here are some things that people have written about these if you're interested. But the screenings are going to be more, I'm going to have a list of films that we'll pull from. And maybe what I'll do is each week I'll have kind of a general 2 films or so that will be maybe the key films. But what I'd love for everybody to do who takes the course is to bring to our time together some films they want to talk about. Films that they've seen on their own and can't stop thinking about, or even something they've recently seen. Because I think what's important about film theory is that some of these films here, right? Battleship Potemkin, this early Soviet film, kind of around the time the montage theorists were really discovering what this tool of montage is, how 2 images juxtaposed together produces a third meaning, right? A film like Battleship Potemkin is just a key example in that. But montage happens all the time in different ways. And so if film theory is useful, it can't just be to teach us how to watch 10 films. It has to teach us how to watch all films. So I would love all of you, attendees to bring your own films as well as the ones that we're going to be watching.
And you'll be starting this, I guess, a week after the end of Imogen Sarah Smith's Powell and Pressburger. So I'm sure that those are some very fertile, rich films to talk about. So let me look at genre theory. I'm really excited personally about this. And I showed some of the essays, but there's Bazin, Eisenstein, Maya Deren, David Bordwell, of course. You mentioned Laura Mulvey, Andrew Saris. The list goes on. There's some great stuff, and I like that it's optional because people. I've read a few of those, and some I haven't. So it's going to be cool. So here is a genre theory, and first off, the headline graphic. You have Johnny Depp. What film is that from?
It's Public Enemies.
Public Enemies, right? So, and then you have the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars, and it looks like Cabinet of Caligari on the left there in the film strip. So that's definitely a genre
bangers,
yes, and here's it closer up. So genre theory is going to be another 5 weeks, and this will be after the film theory. So I think a lot of people might take film theory and then genre theory. And by the way, there's going to be some overlap with people with Japanese New Wave, which Derek is teaching. So maybe that might be something that those are definitely some heavy genres there. So I see you have Past Lives here. Is this Jeff Nichols?
Hell or High Water.
Hell or High Water. Okay, and that looks like Hard Boiled.
Yeah, John Woo.
And is that High
Highlight
Life?
Denis film, yeah.
All right, so I'm 3 out of
Try to
4.
get some contemporary examples, right?
Yeah, they're good. So yeah, we have a Hollywood genre, studying genre, genre in history, and genre in spectatorship, and then genre in the 21st century. I know that's a mouthful. So
Yeah,
what do
I
you
would just
look into?
really
Yeah.
briefly say, kind of the idea for this class is a little bit more centered around Hollywood itself, especially as it goes into global Hollywood. As you'll notice,
Mhm.
these films in the lower graphic here, if you go back, the more contemporary films are, one is explicitly a Hollywood film, and the others were distributed by Hollywood, let's say, right?
Sure.
But sort of the key idea here is that Hollywood in the 1930s, the high studio system, the peak, the golden age of Hollywood, Hollywood invented film genre as we know it as a way to differentiate and distinguish its products, right? Classical Hollywood was an assembly line. It was a big factory, and it was
Mhm.
making products that had to be distinguished from one another. And this was really the moment where film's genre as we know it was invented. And then throughout the 20th century, as Hollywood goes global, those genres get morphed and change in different contexts. And so that's what that class is going to be about. It's going to be about seeing how, classical Hollywood really crafted kind of this core film genre thing. And that throughout time, as film, went around the world, and it mutated and met local conditions, and now we have all these genre mashups that I think are really interesting. So
Yeah, no, I'm writing about a movie right now that is about 8 genres, and
yeah,
somebody researched, Spielberg, Italian giallo, and Italian sex comedies. So yeah,
I
and I
love
see
it.
you
Yeah,
have four movies
I'll
you're
have
going to
we'll
discuss.
have more on this one for
I'm
sure.
sure you'll have more, yeah. And I'll just scroll through the weeks. So let me see if I can zoom in on this. So film genre popular. I'm intrigued by your classic Hollywood because I know that genre was a huge factor
Mhm.
in how they got these movies out, and they would actually recycle scripts. So if they have a Western movie, they would take the same script and rewrite it as a horror movie. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then here you have this Searchers, John Wayne.
I'm not sure if it's Searchers or not, but it's John Wayne and then Luke on Tatooine. Star
Yeah.
Wars is a Western in space, right?
It is, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's also it's from a samurai movie too. So
Yeah,
speaking of
exactly.
Japanese, Return of the Jedi. So yeah, long lines. Yes, those were the days. And then yeah, film. Well, I'm sure you'll change that graphic, but films in the genre in the 21st century. I think that obviously I've been writing about genre a lot, but I think that genre has become more sophisticated in how it's filmed these days. So I really am
Yeah,
looking forward to
exactly. And the
how.
question of, how much input do spectators have, right? In the classical Hollywood system, they didn't necessarily they had audience research, but they didn't have all the audience research to know the micro factions of who likes what, right?
Right, right.
Genres were their guess of kind of the audience, right? And now with social media, you have all these tiny little inputs that studios can tell that, elevated horror fans
Right.
versus other kinds of horror fans, right? These are new developments in genre. So
Yeah, and genre is more respected now. So
mhm.
and so is film theory. I think maybe a little more taken for granted, but it's the building blocks of
That's our
cinema.
goal here. We're going to make it more respected.
Yeah. So it's 5 weeks. So there is a price. It's a really low price. So if you think about it, this is $10 a class, and are you expecting like an hour class? What
Yeah,
time?
maybe hour and a half,
Okay.
no
So
more than
yeah,
that.
this is a very low price. Synergy subscribers get a $15 off coupon too. So, and this is only the highest tier. But if you are a subscriber, you also get discounts to Imogen and Derek and more to come. So, yeah. So and I look forward. Any thoughts about what you'd like to cover after film and genre?
Oh man. I think I'd be interested in doing some more like specific periods of cinema. Like I'd be
Mm.
kind of interested in maybe doing like Weimar cinema in Germany between
Ooh.
the world wars. Often that is thought of as like, oh, just German expressionism. But I think
Oh
it's
no,
really
it's more
interesting.
nuanced. Yeah.
Exactly. Krakauer's book From Caligari to Hitler to notice
Yeah.
how did Germany in 1918 get to Germany in 1933, right? So maybe something like that, maybe other sort of periods rather than genre specific periods, maybe just some moments in film history in different contexts that we can learn about what it went into making a certain sort of filmmaking mode rather than a genre in time.
Nice, nice. Well, I look forward to this in about a month from now, a little less than a month for film theory. So yeah, if you're seeing this and you subscribe to Matt's class, spend a few weeks with us. It's going to be fun, and I put me down for that Weimar class. People that don't know that story, I do know that story because I've researched it. That's fascinating. So
Yeah,
and probably under known, I'd
I
say.
think so. Yeah.
Well, great talking to you, Matt.
Yeah.
Look forward to the classes, and
Thanks, Aaron.
it's
And
part of
thanks
a fun.
everybody. Love to have you in the class.
Likewise, yeah. Take care.